So usually we don't have themes at Bike Story Night, but I feel like there's been a pretty reoccurring theme of perseverance tonight, and I think we're going to have a couple more stories with that theme. And I feel like this Bike Story Night has been quite a trek, even though I feel like I've been planning it and thinking about it for a while. It has been a lot, just with the weather and everything, coming over here. We are here, we made it, we have some wonderful storytellers. This community is so beautiful. I knew, just thinking about coming over to San Antonio, I visited many times, and every time I really love it. I love the biking community. I come to Ciclovia now about every year, and I just love it. I love being here. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, so it's pretty nice to just kind of go to the valley, a lot shorter drive, and visit people that I feel like I have so much similarities with. So I hope to bike with you all soon here in San Antonio, but also come visit me in Austin. Jordan and I host a Sunday ride, and I also host a Femme Trans Women Non-Binary ride. You can go to my Instagram handle, but more about that later, I guess. I want to introduce you to the next storyteller, but I also want to remind you all to stick around. We have prizes. We also have the wildcard forms back there, and several people have already signed up for that, so we have additional stories coming up, and wildcard stories are usually pretty fun. So there's also the community plug segment after the wildcard, so if you lead a bike ride, if you lead a fun group walk, or anything that you think fellow cyclists would enjoy and get together, want to do, if you want to start something and you just need help, please come up here and reach out. This is your chance to connect with your community a little bit more. Thank you again, Lily. Anytime I start to get nervous, I'm just like, embrace. All right, so with that, thank you all for your attention as well. I really appreciate you. I feel like this space lends to it, but sometimes when we're in another space and there's a bar happening, it kind of gets loud and then people start talking. But this space is kind of perfect, and everyone's ears are really tuned in to the storytellers, and that makes it even more special. So, moving on, I'm going to introduce you to Jamie Brown. He's going to come up and share his story.
So thank you guys. I had some wonderful stories outside already. So here's a little thing that I kind of came up with. All right. So I was somewhere around Bedford, Kentucky. I was completely bummed. Have you ever got to that position where you're completely, utterly gone? I was there. I'd been there a couple times before. I got to that point where the white line had turned to pink. The metallic, fruity pebble taste was in my mouth. I couldn't spin my legs anymore. I'd been to this place before, but not to this extent. And it was kind of scary for me. So this whole day, I had been riding about 45 miles in, and I was riding with a group of people, and I was pushing a hand cyclist. I was assisting him to get on this ride. We were somewhere around about 45 miles in. We had about 45 miles left to go. We've been battling this headwind all day long, and I was blocked. I was done for the day. So I got to the back of the group. I was drifting back, and I had this guy come up along with me, gave me a little push. His name's Michael Manning, and I had not been pushed in a very long time, especially because of the help that I needed. I hadn't been there before. And I was drifting back. Manny looked over at me, smiled, and he starts laughing a little bit, and then he goes, "First time pushing?" I was like, I don't know, nothing was really making any sense, because I was just so bummed. Down the road, a little story about Michael Manning. He's a Marine. He had gotten injured somewhere along the lines when he was in Afghanistan, and he worked for this company called Ride to Recovery. Michael Manning was about 5'10", had this button chop beard, he was bald, he was a Marine. And his job for the day was to make sure that everybody stayed in with the group. There's about 50 of us riding in that group that day. And just like any other Marine, he took his job seriously and made sure that everybody stayed in with the group. His other job was also to make sure that if anybody had mechanical, he was there to help them out. So if somebody's riding along, they get a flat, Manning drops back with them, switches out their wheel, gets them back up on the road. If he has other type of mechanical, chain falls off, anything like that, Michael's there, help them get back up on the road, fix their bike, and get back up into the group. These rides were generally about 7 days long. We generally took about 300 to 500 miles. On this particular trip, we're going from Cincinnati, Ohio, all the way down to Nashville, Tennessee. And we're rolling with about 250 injured veterans. Along the route, so I was bonked, completely gone. Michael Manning's helping me out. It was really, really helpful, really glad. Along the route, what we're ended up doing, the guy I was helping out pushing that day, his name was Kimo. James Kimo was Navy Special Ops. He wasn't a SEAL, but he was Special Ops. He got injured over in Afghanistan, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. The same time that he got his injury, he also had a severe seizure. So it left him with very little speech, and he also could only kind of do a little chicken scratch and writing. And so it was kind of hard to communicate with him. But Kimo was on a hand cycle. And if you've never seen a hand cycle before, imagine a three-wheeled bike. Your drive wheel is in front of you. The person that's piloting the bike is laying down. Their legs are strapped across the front of the wheel, and they pedal with their hands. And both their hands move at the same time so that they get the most out of their stroke. So kind of hard for Kimo to kind of keep pace. That's why I'm here to kind of help him out, make sure that he keeps pace with the whole group. One, a hand cyclist doesn't have as much power as an upright cyclist, but then also their equipment weighs a whole lot more. Typical hand cycle generally weighs about, from the low end, super, super high end, you're looking at like 27 pounds. Most of them run at about the 32 to 40 pound range. So one, you have a lot less power, plus you're also having to pedal with your hands. Makes it kind of difficult. So my job that I'm there with them is to help make sure that all the cyclists kind of stay together. And on these hand cyclists, there we go, we have a metal bar attached to the end of it, and that we actually go up next to it and we push to kind of help keep the pace. The reason why we do this is because our rides are structured so that everybody rides 2 by 2. You're always riding next to somebody. It's kind of very similar for if you're sitting in a military situation. A lot of people run together in the military as part of the training protocol. Same thing, you make sure that you are taking care of everybody in your group. Every person in the group is responsible for the whole group. Same thing as we're riding our bikes, we're doing the same thing. This particular person, she got paralyzed in a mountain biking accident, and this was her first ride on a recumbent, or sorry, not a recumbent, on a hand cycle that after her injury. So she ended up doing 300 miles on her first outing, and that was 9 months after she was paralyzed. Wow. So this is people I got to work with. It was an amazing group of people. And why I'm up here, why I'm telling the story, is I worked in the adaptive cycling world for about 7 years, and I still really get to kind of dip and dabble into that as well too. So what we do in the adaptive cycling world, if somebody has a desire to ride a bike, we make sure that that happens. I made sure that that happened when I was working with anybody that came to me. If somebody was a double amputee, one guy, Chuck, had both of his legs blown off in Iraq. They were pretty high up. During the explosion, he also lost his vision. Chuck came to us and he said, hey, I want to ride a bike. So how do you get a double amputee that can't see on a fucking bike? So it's pretty fun. So what we ended up doing is we took a kneeler hand cycle, so just kind of think of the same situation I'm talking about, except that you would be laying down on your back, you're sitting upright. So he's sitting upright, hitting his arms with the hand cycle. We welded a recumbent trike to the front of it, but we didn't have a really good way of powering both of them at the same time. So we ended up having to take the chain off, connecting the stoker onto the pilot, and both of them had to ride in tandem. So a hand cycle piloting or going at the same time that you're trying to pedal a bike. It was a hell of a thing to ride, it was a hell of a thing to build, but we got chucked across a number of different state lines on that bike. A couple other things, a couple other projects I ended up working on. A double amputee, double arm amputee. We had, he really wanted to ride a mountain bike. He'd already been riding a road bike, but he wanted to ride a mountain bike. His goal was to actually get into Leadville, complete the Leadville in under 12 hours. So we had to figure out how to do that. It was a fun little endeavor. We ended up taking, you don't have regular hands to brake with or shift with. We had to come up with some pretty funky ideas on how to get him to be able to shift, which ended up being DI2 shifters, satellite shifters on his knees. So he could hit him with his knees and shift the bike. And then the other part is braking. When you have prosthetics, you can't take your hands off of your bike because pretty much they're there the whole time, because you have another adaptation that goes into like little ball and socket joints, so that if you are moving up and down, your hands don't come off, but they also rotate around the bar. So we had to figure out braking. So we came up with this thing called a butt brake. So basically, anytime that he wanted to stop, you're sitting on a bike like this, he just throws his butt back, and it hits onto this brake. But so what was that? Yeah. Butt brakes work. They work really well. When the adaptation, like when DI2 came out, it was a game changer for us, because when we were doing stuff for these same guys and same girls that were having problems that couldn't learn how to shift, there's a picture of chemo. We had to do the same stuff with mechanical stuff. So thinking about shifting levers with your knees, we had a hand cyclist that was a triple amputee, basically had his left thumb stuck to his right thumb, and his nub on one side would shift, and the nub on the other side would brake on his hand cycle. So we just figured out ways, like if somebody wants to ride a bike, we figure out a way for them to do that. Currently right now, I am working with Bike MS. More specifically, I am working on the I Ride with MS program. So with that program, what we get to do is I have great volunteers around me that have really wanted to bring out more of the adaptive cycling and bring out more people that don't have typical access to cycling. So that's bringing in electrified cyclists. That's bringing in adaptive equipment. It's also bringing in ADA equipment for when we go on our rides. How many times have you gone to a ride and thought about, hey, I need an ADA toilet? If they're on a ride, they're still going to need one. If somebody's on a wheelchair, they still have to go to the bathroom just like you do on the middle of a ride. So we're making sure that those things come into our rides. We started here in San Antonio, and now it's starting to go on our national side of stuff. So we have 52 rides across the country. And all of these rides are starting to take place, so that all of these things that we started here in San Antonio, and actually Marissa started working on in San Antonio, have now started going to all the rest of the rides across the country. And it's so great, because if you've seen a lot of more rides that are coming out around the San Antonio, Austin area, you're also going to start noticing some more of that stuff there as well too. The TAP is one of those other rides that I'm starting to help working on. They're actually bringing ADA toilets in for the 20-miler because certain regulations for them, they don't allow recumbents and hand cyclists past that point. But a number of the hand cyclists that I work with can definitely do more than 30 miles. And it's pretty neat. It's pretty interesting to see all that stuff that's kind of coming around and all the stuff that's adapting to the cycling world. So. Oh, other cool stuff I got to work on. Sorry, add one more. The biggest kind of takeaway is if there is somebody that has a desire to ride a bike, You can make that happen. We can make that happen in the world. There's a few people in San Antonio besides myself that do work specifically with adaptive cyclists, and it's really great. Reach out to us, find out if you have somebody that has a disability that they think is limiting on their cycle, limiting their ability to ride a cycle. It's not. We figured out ways for everybody to be able to ride a bike, and if they have a desire, we can make it happen.
Hot mic.
Can you tell them about Leadville?
What is Leadville?
What is Leadville? Oh, sorry, Leadville. Leadville is a mountain bike ride that traverses 12,000 feet. It's 104 miles. You start at 10,000 feet, and you top out at about 12,800. And it's a pretty grueling mountain bike ride. In order to finish it, you have to finish in under 12 hours to get a belt buckle. Yeah. So the guy that we had the double arm amputee, cool story. I actually got to lead him out on Leadville. There's a couple little bottlenecks that happen in that race. Going up the first couple mountains, you also have to think there's 2,000, 3,000 people coming on this one ride at one time. And they're all going into a mountain bike double track. And so it's really hard for somebody that has no arms to hop off a bike trying to walk up a hill. So my job for that day was to put myself in the hole and make sure that I cleared out his way so that he didn't have to get off a bike for the first 25 miles.
Yeah.
Cool.
Whoa. Can see.
Hi everyone, it's me again. I hope everyone's having a good night. Thanks again so much for sticking around, really appreciate it. And I want to take the moment, if we can thank Valerie please, by giving her a big round of applause. Let me tell you just shortly, I have not met Valerie before, but she reached out, things aligned, and I had not heard of Bike Night before until a few months ago. So I was aware of it just because Christina was going to go actually and speak up there, and Jenna, who used to reside here, told me about it. But I really do hope that we're able to show her that it's worth her time and her giant effort, along with everybody else who's here to help. Jeff, we also have Dan. Thank you so much for the SA Babes on Bikes. And everybody else who came, just thank you so much. There's been so much effort into helping her. And I hope you consider coming back. Thank you once again so much. I have the pleasure to introduce the next speaker, storyteller, who I've had the privilege of riding with before. She's fantastic and apparently has been riding since 2012. Holy crap. Started off with mountain bikes and moved on to doing, social rides as a commuter. She has ridden with SA Babes on Bikes and rides with Mujeres as well. Once again, a Tuesday fast-paced training ride for Mujeres, safe space, you're welcome to come. But it's my pleasure to introduce the next storyteller and my friend, Cristina Solarzano.
Thank you. Yeah, so this story is a gratitude. I want to thank everybody in this community. Like Lily was mentioning earlier, Jeff with the CTX Social Ride. We have Mujeres up here with Katie and Andrea. Veronica, Yvette with SA Babes on Bikes. Zeke over there with Cannibal. Zombies. SA Bikes with Brian. We have Black Lab. I mean, there's a tons of groups. Michelle with Chingonas. This is a great event to have here in San Antonio. Of course, Gisalo here too. Thanks, Carrie, earlier for talking about Gisalo. Yeah, I work for Gisalo, but I wish I could talk more about that. But I'm here to talk about rag ride. If y'all don't know what rag ride means, I had no idea what it meant last year when I wrote it the first time. It's Register's annual great bicycle ride across Iowa. So it's a bike ride that literally starts on the west side of Iowa and goes all the way to the east side. So from border to border, east to west. It's super long. It's about 7 days of riding 80 to 100 miles a day. But it's a great bike ride. It's really, you ride at your own pace. It's not a race. There's no finisher's medal. There's no, podium. It's not any kind of race like that. You just ride it because you want to do a 500-mile long week bike ride and camp out every night. They promote it as a camping event, but there's many ways you can do rack ride. If you want to do an RV, you can rent an RV. It gets a little bit pricier, but rack ride is super cool. You can camp out at people's yards. Everybody opens up their house to anybody going through their overnight town. So I was introduced to rack ride a couple years ago when I worked at REI, and a few friends of some of my coworkers talked about doing this bike ride across Iowa, and they showed me the Shimano chanclas that you have to wear. It's what they're known for. I even bought some myself a couple years ago. So if you've seen me out on a bike ride, I'll probably be wearing my chanclas. They're pictured right there at the bottom. It's a really cool bike ride. It's about, you have to register for it, but there's tons of people that just tag along, that they don't even register, they just show up. So in the end, there's about 10 to 15,000 people that do this bike ride. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. You wake up at whatever time you want to wake up at, and you just start riding. You start riding, there's always going to be people in front of you, there's always going to be people behind you doing this on the bike ride. And throughout the day, there's tons of beer gardens, and there's food stops, and there's sights to see. No tacos, there's no tacos in Iowa. Iowa doesn't have any tacos, so yeah, I really missed it. I should have taken my own. Not even tortillas, yeah. If you ever go, yes, make sure to bring your own tortillas. But yeah, so it's really cool. It's definitely something that I recommend anybody doing if you ever have the time to take a whole week off and just ride your bike. Definitely do it. There's a great support all the route. Every little community opens up their homes to you. They welcome you. They're outside cheering for you whenever you arrive to their overnight town. It's a great event. So I took my time with it. Every now and then you can catch somebody's wheel. Like I was telling Katie earlier, if you want to do it fast, you can catch somebody's wheel and just go as fast as you can with them until you're done. But for the most part, I just hung out and I just whenever I wanted to stop, I stopped. If you're stopping and you're taking a break and you're worried about, I don't want to be too late, I don't want to be the last one in, you'll be sitting there and you'll just see miles and miles of just people going through, thousands of people just going through. So you'll see tons of people waiting and just hanging out. So it's pretty great. But I definitely want to thank the cycling community here for supporting me in many different ways. I had a GoFundMe last year because it gets a little bit pricey. You have to pay for your own meals every day. But I definitely want to give everybody here thank you for that, for supporting me, for sharing my story, for and also some more local support. That pink bag on my handlebars in ALR Works. So some more local support. Of course, I had my bike tuned up by, I believe it was Beeline. So they came out and they brought their little mobile to tune up my bicycle. So that was pretty cool. It was a last minute kind of tune up. Yeah, this bike ride wouldn't have been possible without the San Antonio cycling support and everything here. And of course, Valerie also, when I met her last summer, and she's like, you ride bikes, right? And then I told her my story, and she's like, oh yeah, right. You should definitely come to one of our bike story nights. So, I just love everybody here, and I just love that this community has been so great at keeping everybody, Mujeres keeping me accountable for bike riding. But honestly, after riding for almost 480 miles last year, it pretty much broke me because I didn't ride for another 6 months after coming back from Iowa. I didn't ride for 6 months. I just started back up again back in January. This past January with Mujeres, going on the Tuesday rides. So it was pretty intense, but it was definitely a lot of fun. So if you have any questions about it, if you've ever been wondering about riding that, doing that ride, let me, just come up to me and ask me. I'm planning on doing it again this year. It's our 50th anniversary. So So I plan on riding them this year. But yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, Christina. Oh my gosh, it's been a journey. All right, so I have another storyteller to introduce. He has been actually super helpful and instrumental in sliding the photos over. Can you slide to? Yeah. Sweet, I just slid the page. But yeah, I wanted to reiterate how important the community is. Just seeing you all here just makes my heart so happy. It makes me excited for the San Antonio cycling community in general to keep on growing and keep doing what you're doing, keep encouraging other people. It really, really means a lot. Any little smile, wave, thumbs up, high five really, really makes a world of difference no matter what level someone's at. And don't ever criticize someone for, I'm sure you all know this, for cycling in any way, or riding e-bikes, for that matter. I think when I read Brian's synopsis, he was mentioning how, 10 years ago people were probably like laughing at e-cyclists or whatnot, and now you like look at them and you're like, right? That's how I was. And then one finally came my way, so I am now the proud owner also of an e-folding bike. Yeah, I got to buy one used for a friend who was upgrading, and I was just like, I couldn't resist. So I highly recommend. But Brian's, I'm sure, going to talk it up a lot more. So let's welcome Brian Martin to the stage.
Thank you so much, Val. And thank you so much for putting this together. It was an amazing event and such a good turnout to see everybody up here. I'm not going to work the mic like Lily did. She's like a stand-up comedian. I do have a question, though. I just, like a general question. Is anybody here not wearing socks and has their ankles exposed? How do y'all do that? My ankles freeze. I just like look at bare ankles when it's 30 and I'm like, what's going on? All right, so I didn't memorize. I actually wrote up my story. It's kind of embarrassing a little bit, but somebody's going to work the slideshow for me, and maybe Carrie would even take a picture of me because my phone is right there. Look at that. Okay, so I'm Brian Martin, and I love bikes, and I want to represent. So I'm going to read my story here. My bike story started, like so many of y'all, when I was young. No, go back. There he is. There's that little boy. So I remember when I was young, I got my first real bike Christmas of '91, and it was a sweet black and white BMX Huffy Cruiser. And it took me a good year to grow into that bike because it was a bit big for me, but by 8 years old, that bike and I were best friends. We had so many adventures in our neighborhood, and riding through over the stock tanks to my best friend's house, and riding home late on summer nights, and learning the rules of the road on a bike and exploring the sticks where I grew up. Bikes seemed to be like the most important thing ever because they gave you that first sense of freedom. But like everybody, by the time I got to high school, I was like, I need a car. And well, mainly because it was like a 2-hour commute every day to school, so that wasn't cool. And so I guess I kind of lost interest in bikes, and then I had a couple of rides on a motorcycle and had a 100cc dirt bike, little thing, and that kind of became my love for two wheels. So I'm not your traditional cyclist. I like the mixture of motors and pedaling. But it took me a while to figure that out. So my bike story continued while I got to college. You can go, I don't have any pictures, but that's when I first moved to San Antonio. But back in when I was in college, I had a bike, and it was really crucial to get around and not be late for classes and not getting a lot of parking tickets at Texas Tech. That was like their big thing at Texas Tech. Like, you've been parked here? That's $100. I'm like, what the hell? So I did several bikes, but my first real bike that I guess fell in love with after my little kid bike was a 10-speed red Miata, and it was super sweet. It was so light. It was still light, but it was cool. And then by 2004, the motorcycle obsession had fully taken over, and I finally got my first motorcycle. It was a purple 1989 Suzuki GS500. It was a cafe racer. My bike story continued when I moved home from college. I moved back to South Austin, and I was without a car because I had to sell my truck to move from Lubbock. And so commuting by bike and using the bus to get to my employer on South Lamar was at times dangerous and kind of a drag because you'd miss your bus and you have to walk home in the dark by yourself. So I was like, I need a motorcycle again. So I got another motorcycle, what was it, 2002 Suzuki SV650S in royal blue. And that was my main ride. And you know, there's like a thrill of going fast. And you can feel that too on a bicycle going downhill, but going uphill. So I really was into motorcycles, and I also got back into music at this time. I started playing with the band South Austin, a little three-piece. We didn't go very far, but it was a lot of fun. By that time, I also met my wife, one more? Yeah, no? There she is. So I met my wife, and on our first dates, one of our first dates, we rented bikes and went for a little ride around town lake in Austin. And then we also would go do dates on my motorcycle. We didn't always have a car at the time. And I remember one time, my wife Monica, she was on the back of the motorcycle. We were coming home from the movie theaters, and I got to a stoplight, and I'm like, "Hey, are you asleep back there?" For the love of God, she fell asleep on the back of my motorcycle. What is wrong with you? So by the spring of 2012, my wife and I discovered we were expecting, and before my son was born, I made the heartbreaking decision to sell that motorcycle. And all my friends were crazy, like, "You're crazy, you're gonna sell that thing and build an electric bike? What the hell is that?" And so I built 2 e-bikes with the money I sold, money I made for the motorcycle, and the first one I made was for my wife. There it is. And she rode that all the way to like 8 months pregnant, and we had safe routes in Austin that we could get to work. And you know, the thing was, in 2012, like, nobody was riding electric bikes, and especially not custom ones that went like 35 to 40 miles an hour. And people were like, "You're crazy, just get a motorcycle if you want to go that fast, or ride a bike if you want to exercise." I'm like, "But you can have both, guys. You can go fast and get exercise. It's amazing." And so that kind of continued, and then by 2014, can you go back a few slides? All right, so that was one of my first like test rides of that little crazy bike. I still have that frame, but it's all powered out by now. But the cool thing about this, just real quick, is a tangent, but that was this thing created by Soul Design Lab, and they were started out as like a UT kind of like special project. And now you can see some of these are still like up in Austin, like by the trails and stuff, but this was one of their first ones. And the whole, and you can go back one more slide, Carrie. One more? No, sorry, go forward. There it is. So that was one at South by Southwest in 2012, and there's my wife's bike. And I was like, I'm looking such a nerd there, but I was like, "Oh, I'm charging from the sun, it's so cool, guys." And, you know, I guess I kind of being like, "I'm a pioneer, look at me." And so I was really proud of that. But so in 2014, we were upgraded from Austin, and my wife got promotion last time here to San Antonio. Altogether, it was a good move, but it was some adjusting to San Antonio's way of life, mainly my way of life of trying to use a bike to get around. Getting around San Antonio by bike was more challenging than in Austin, even with an electric assist. Many folks seem to be annoyed with me being on the street, even at 35 miles an hour. So I found that some of the routes, the traffic was too fast, and the sidewalks were rough or non-existing. So exploring San Antonio by bike was more challenging, and I had to kind of really figure out what my routes would be. And then I also, my wife and I are still sharing a car at this point, and I would pick up my kid off of Broadway, but I had neighborhood routes I would use to pick up my kid in a bike hitch, and like nobody was doing. Like nobody picked up their kid on a bike here in San Antonio. I mean, in Austin, it's not like a big deal. It's like, "Oh, you picked up your kid today on a bike, that's nice." And here you're like, "Are you crazy? You're gonna die. And your kid's gonna die." And like, the kid has a helmet, and I'm on electric assist, and we stop at the lights and stuff. "You're crazy." I'm crazy, you're right. So in 2017, I decided to turn my passion for electric bikes into a real company, Bronco Bikes, because I realized a whole lot of people knew how to work on electric bikes, and definitely nobody knows, a lot of people didn't know how to build their own custom e-bike. So let's fast forward a little bit. By 2018, was kind of when I started getting more involved in the cycling community. I met Janelle Sturzenbuns, who was kind of one of the founders of Bike San Antonio, which she was one of the original founders of Bike San Antonio. And I also met some fellow e-bike builders. I don't have pictures of them here, but one of them, his name is Mark Fukuda, and he's a really cool guy. He builds like custom stretched out e-bikes and stuff. Do you know Fukuda? Okay. Fukuda's kind of a recluse, but he's a really cool guy. And then I finally heard about Bottom Bracket Bike Shop, and I was like, I gotta go check this out. And I met Tito Bradshaw, and he told me, because I was trying to like, hey, you should do, like, e-bikes are cool. And he's like, well, I like e-bikes, but my friend Marty started the Hub Market, and I don't want to step on his toes, so you should go check out Marty if you're into e-bikes. So because of Tito, I met Marty, and if y'all don't know, you'll probably know Marty, but like, one thing about Marty is that he's a godfather in the e-bike world. Like, he was one of the first kind of like to do crazy custom e-bikes and stuff. So a lot of respect for him.
He's a monster bike though.
What's that?
He's a monster bike.
Is it monster bike?
Monster bike. He's an OG monster bike.
Yeah. Oh, BMX. Yes, yes, you're right. You're right. He is an OG in BMX. No, it's all good. No, Marty's also like, she's right. He's an amazing BMX pioneer back in the day, back in 1980 something. So let me get back to my story real quick. So okay, so I met Marty, and I met another e-bike builder, and I was like, oh, I'm not alone. There's other people that like e-bikes. 2018 was also the first year, the first time I started the Broadway Lit Ride. It's like, well, I can't make all these rides down south because I live in North, and I'm not off until Saturday. So we started doing our own little rides. Got some friends who ride fixies. Got some customers who show up and we ride our own little ride because we couldn't make these rides down south. And okay, so in 2018 was also the first year I started. Can you go forward, Carrie? No, go forward. Yeah, that one works. No, that one works. So in 2018, I started doing some lobbying for Citizens Climate Lobby. They are a nonprofit centered around market-based solutions to tackle climate change. And really, it was just a really good opportunity to go to DC. And I did that for 3 times. 2 minutes left, thank you. And long story short, when I was in DC, I got to use some of their public transportation and see their bike network. And I was like, can we get some of this down to San Antonio, please, for one of that? So in 2019, I became more involved with Bike San Antonio. They are, like I said, they're a nonprofit centered around bike safety, bike infrastructure. My work as the public outreach coordinator and talking to the media earned me a spot on the board of directors. But by the end of 2019, Janelle left for Portugal, and we had to keep Bike San Antonio from dying. So the thought was, well, we'll organize a ride. So I helped organize a big ride with the mayor. Jeff came out and brought some of his bike marshals, and it was a great ride with the mayor, Ron Nurnberg, and we had 2 city council women there, Shirley Gonzalez and Anna Sandoval. And in my mind, it was kind of like a political statement to say, Broadway deserves bike lanes, and it still does, by the way. Let's see, I got just a few minutes left here, so yeah, let's just move on there. So Bike San Antonio continues to grow its board, and we're continuing to try to work with the city and the transportation department and the community to advocate for the safer infrastructure for cyclists and pedestrians. I'm also still on a crusade about electric bikes, as they are awesome, and if you haven't tried one, you should. And it's a real transportation solution for a lot of folks, and it's also a disruptive technology, which is exciting. Electric bike kits are also a great option for a lot of folks who have great bikes, and they're more environmentally friendly, because if you already have a great bike, you can actually upgrade it with an electric bike kit and turn it into an e-bike, and it's a lot more environmentally friendly because you're not shipping a whole other bike. As you know, there are many benefits that accrue when you bike. It's better for your mental health and your physical health. It's better for air quality, and in general, it makes people happy. Back one. There we go. And that's my son Noah. We did a little recycling thing for the school. Give me one more second. Okay, everybody should be able to enjoy a bike no matter what their background is. I think riding a bike for transportation is a political statement in the state of Texas. It's also a very social thing because you meet so many interesting people on a bike. It's the ultimate egalitarian machine. Everybody should be able to enjoy a bike no matter what their background is. I love bikes, and I love to see people riding bikes. It gives me hope for humanity. Let's all work together to make bike riding safer in San Antonio and to spread the love. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day. My turn.
If Bobby was here, he'd drop a bike.
Thank you, Veronica.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I completely forgot. During intermission, I was going to bring up Andrew, who is the fine owner of the Southside Craft Soda.
Yeah!
Andrew, please come up before we have our wild card stories start. Andrew is going to come up and just say a few things.
Yes!
Thank you guys. This is the first time that we posted anything on this property. We moved here 6 months ago, and these are the sorts of things that we want to be a part of. I had the great pleasure of meeting Valerie and Jordan yesterday. We had just an excellent conversation about activism and community activism. And
Yes.
my father was a neighborhood activist and Southsider.
Yes!
He grew up on the South Side. And we shared stories about activism and being a part of this community. So my one quick bike story is my father was on the first river improvements project, neighborhood activists, where they were going to start building bike trails to the missions and improving the river. So it was a group of neighborhood activists who came together and said, we want trails and we want the river, and they told the county that that's what they wanted. And they were organized, and when you go cycling down by the river, that wasn't the county or the state or the city that said that. That was a group of activists that said, this is what we want. And the county, they put hundreds of millions of dollars to improve those bike lanes. And so I remember him, and he didn't get to see all of it. He used to say, oh, there's going to be people biking down these trails, and there's going to be people kayaking, and there's going to be, there's going to be all these people doing all this. Like, yeah, okay, Dad, okay. And sure enough, here we all are, right? So it's remembering that you're going to be planting this seed to a tree you may not see.
Yes.
Right? And so that's what I'm hoping that these sorts of things continue to do. And again, welcome. You're going to see some more activity on this property. Just a drip. We came into a partnership with Denise Aguirre and Noel Cisneros, who own the Point Park up at Bernie Stage Road. So
Those are homies!
They are homies.
Yeah.
And they are going to be collaborating with us and doing more activities on this property. So welcome and thank you all.
Quick side story. So we were going to be at Tandem, as a lot of y'all probably know, and I'm really sad that we couldn't be at Tandem, but the weather happened and we couldn't rearrange our Airbnb, and so it was just like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And then I had been meaning to call Andrew back because he was going to donate to Bike Story Night, donate some sodas for us at Tandem. And so I had to call him back and tell him, like, sorry, pickup logistics might be changing, whatnot, and he had in our previous conversation mentioned that maybe, in the future we could host Bike Story Night here. And so in the back of my mind, I was just like panicking, but also like I knew I needed to call Andrew, and so he was like still open to the idea. He's like, well, why don't you just do it here the next day? And that was available for me. It wasn't available for Tandem to do Thursday. But shout out to Tandem for being willing to host us. And also, if we wrap up early enough, we can go over there as an after thing, no pressure. But yeah, thank you again to Andrew. He sort of came through as an angel, you know, in a very, very scary moment for me. And for us, you know, because I don't know when we would have been able to reschedule, and it was kind of a mess. But yeah, thank you. The space is really great. So now we're rolling into our wild card segment of the night, and we have a couple of wild cards signed up, and after they have 5 minutes to share their story, not as long as the other storytellers, but they have 5 minutes, and we have a few brave souls who have signed up. And then after that, we'll have the community plug segment, so please stick around for that, because that's going to be really fun.
Yes.
So it's root beer. And they'll have 30 seconds. Again, you can plug your bike ride, your group, anything you want to highlight or organize, you're organizing that you think the community might be interested in joining you in. That'll be 30 seconds, so after the wild cards. But, wild cards, let's go. Ricky Rod over here.
I didn't know I was going to go first, a big deal. So I'm with the Zombie Bicycle Club. We represent the Braves, so this is, we're going to go ahead and go with a week adventure. I didn't know I was going to go right away, okay. So on Mondays, these are the after work adventures. You know, everybody's got the 9 to 5, I got mine for 7 to 3:30. So we just get off of work on Mondays, and I just prep up for the Zombie Bicycle ride, especially on Mondays. You can get ready to party. You're gonna ride fast, you're gonna go hard, it's gonna be aggressive, you're gonna drink, smoke, and have a real good time with your friends. That was my outlet. That's what I do. Zombies, yeah. Tuesdays, I have joined the Tuesday night bicycle ride, but I usually leave kind of early. Hi, Jeff. So, and then we meet up with our friends, and we just kind of hang out. Wednesdays, I like to join the babes when they have. When they'll have us, I meet them at the bar, luchador. But we're talking about after work. So you're gonna get a couple of rides in, maybe some lunch, hit the station cafe. You know, you're gonna do some urban stuff. We're gonna go ahead and back it up to Thursdays. Go ahead and push it in. Now, I like Thursdays. A lot of people, almost everybody I know knows I like Thursdays because I like to kick it with the wild dogs. By Thursday is Mini Friday. I just want to let loose. I just want to cruise on my bike. I don't want to touch my pedals. I ride fixed gear, no brakes. Just gonna let them roll. Just let them hang. Because normally we'd be drinking. And we'll probably put with the wild dogs. We're probably gonna put in a good 2 miles. But I'm gonna get home probably at 2 o'clock. You know, it's gonna be wild. I'm telling you, it's gonna be wild. And I like their first Fridays, or what is that? They do their first Friday. I love that. They always do that. But on Fridays, my favorite memories on Fridays is getting off of work. I kick it with my homeboys, my zombies, and then we do the last Friday night ride. And we meet up about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at the night Alamo. And we wait for this blue helmet to come through. We already knew Tito was gonna come with that silly ass blue helmet, right? And we get through it, and if you were there, those were Fridays. So on Saturdays, man, normally I worked, I just get off, and I was ready to see the zombies because everybody was out. I see them on social media. We didn't have stories back then. It was just like, all right, they're getting through. Everybody's this and that. So I would have to catch up. Everybody's like, all right, we're already buzzing, we're having a good time. Man, I have to get out of work and catch up. So you're just doing all that catch up, having a good time, preparing for Sunday. Because you already knew Sunday was leisurely. Favorite Sundays was meeting up with my buddies Mike and Nikki. They were in the Kickstand SA. they do the bike rally. We did the second Saturday social rides. One time we packed up over 120 people. So, and that was good for a second Saturday. We had just busted out of the COVID. You were there. Anyway, Sundays, it was just like, we meet up, we probably put a bunch of meat in bags from like initial con in our backpacks. I remember Rod had met us, I don't know if y'all know Rod Pace, he's one of our older zombies. He showed up with his big old truck bed of a bike. I was like, what's that big old rack? Nice rack, Rod. So it was like he carried the wood for us, and we all just packed up a bunch of stuff, a little wagon. Man, I think we had, it was whiskey, because one of the dogs. Anyway, we had the dogs, bunch of wood, meat, and we just popped it up. We just popped it up with hammocks at Brackenridge Park. And we pulled a couple of miles, but tried pulling a couple of miles with a couple of wagons. Shit's pretty intense. Makes you want to drink a bunch of beer when you get there.
Yeah!
So those are my favorite Sundays. Anywho, I'm Ricky Rod. I'm your favorite deal. Look out for me on TikTok. Hey, baby. Get you some.
All right. Way to start the wild cards. All right. We have another wild card, and this is Kristen Thomas coming up to share. After Kristen, we have Evan. And Evan, everyone has 5 minutes, but towards the end of Evan's story, if you're going to do a community plug, kind of start to gather back here so that we can start like whipping y'all in through here, so we can do, yes. We have a special community plug as well.
We got a bonus plug right here.
Hey, I'm Kirsten. I've crossed paths with a lot of you. So, 30-second summation of my bike history. I grew up riding in the back of a Burley with my dad and riding a lot as a kid. And then I just didn't care about it. And I went to college in Austin and had a mountain bike that was older than I was. And I was like, why do people like to ride bikes? Growing up on Dean Keaton's hills on a mountain bike, like this is the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And my dad and my brother-in-law did MS 150 a few times. And they were like, you need to try road cycling, it's so great. So I got on a road bike at some point after college, and I was like, oh, this is why people like to ride bikes. This is easy. And so 2019, I started riding a hand-me-down road bike, and just kind of riding on the greenways with a couple of friends that also like to ride. But I knew there were group rides. I was very scared of it. I was like, I don't know how to ride with other people. San Antonio, I don't want to ride on these roads. So, but one thing I've enjoyed for a long time is drinking beer. So, so Roadmaps Brewing, they posted, hey, we're going to start a cycling club. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm in. But I don't know about any of you, but I, at the time, was like, I can't show up anywhere by myself, like to a group of people I don't know. I would never do that. So I got a couple of my friends. I was like, please, I want to go to this. Like, you guys ride bikes. Like, we started going to the Roadmap ride. They rarely come anymore. But after I went a few times, I met a lot of you guys, and I realized, like, oh, this is great. So I started coming to more social rides by myself, which at the time was still scary. And it has been a really great ride, because I was just like, hey, I mean, I know how to ride a bike, have a bike, I like to drink beer, let's do this. And the Roadmap ride became like a self-organizing mess of a thing. And then things really picked up when Matt Scott, who was here, he had to part ways. He started leading a ride from the brewery that he works at, Black Lab Brewing, on Thursdays. And he really helped foster our community, and through like those rides and him setting up all of that, and we do different routes every week. And so there's a Tuesday ride with Roadmap, Thursday ride with Black Lab, And
Yes.
there's normally a mid-stop where we drink, and then we come back to the breweries for discount beer.
Yeah.
And through those rides and just, I was scared, I like beer, let's do this. I started meeting a bunch of you guys. So I met Katie and Lily, and I was scared to do new hairs until a few weeks ago. Made it through. I work in computer science. I'm scared of large groups of women, so I still haven't done a beta, right? And just the community has been so great. Through you guys, I was able to meet people with Gravel Collective, Christina. I was even through the brewery rides, met people in Houston with Coffee and Bikes. If y'all are ever out there, fantastic group. And I just loved it was the roadmap and the Black Lab rides, all sorts of bikes, BMX, folding bikes, electric, mountain, road. There's everything. And everyone's welcome. They're a bit faster, which is fun. But we also have tried to be inclusive of everybody that shows up and try our best to be no drop. And I love that as a starting place for people who are scared of the cycling community. But you guys are great, and now I know that.
Yes!
I just want to introduce the next person.
I know.
And that's Evan. And I don't think many of you need much of an introduction, but this guy's awesome. He provides a great ride where you're able to go and basically push yourselves, and it's very inclusive. It's a set route, but it's definitely somewhere that you can go and challenge yourself. And I'm so glad he decided to come up and share. So let's all bring it along.
I love that guy!
Hello, everyone.
Hello!
I'm super nervous.
Hi.
My hands are all sweaty. Vomit on my sweater already. I started to ride 2 years ago. I was pretty much riding on Wednesday nights by myself anyways, just to get some miles in and some training. And I started inviting a bunch of friends from the zombie ride on Monday nights. And they started coming out. It started getting pretty big after maybe a few months. I think maybe at the 6 month mark, we had maybe 28 or 30 people on the ride, which was pretty big and also made me nervous. And so the ride just kept growing. More people started showing up. Faster people started showing up. And I really liked it still because it still felt like a small group ride, small time, not your Judy ride or your Cyclones ride and stuff like that. And we had a super open mind when it came to the bikes that were out. I was on a track bike at the time, but roadies were allowed to come out. Anybody could come out and ride their bike on my Wednesday night ride. About a year into the ride, a buddy approached me and wanted to collaborate on an event with me, and I was like, wow, Zeke the human, he is one of the biggest promoters for cycling in San Antonio, and it was a no-brainer. I was like, didn't even think about it. I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. You tell me when, tell me what to do. I did half those things, and we had meetings planning this thing for, 6 months out, maybe? And we started making a flyer. Nick, Zeke, and the Cannibals made the flyer, and on the flyer it said, Evan's Wednesday Ride and the Cannibals. And I was just like, man, I cannot have this ride just as Evan's Wednesday Ride. What if I want to make, a cycling team or make some, shirts and jerseys and stuff? I can't have Evan's Wednesday Ride on my jersey. That would be weird. So Zeke, during the meetings, he was like, well, you got to come up with a brand, man. And I was just like, yeah, I know, I don't know what to call it. And Zeke was think about it. We have so much time, and to think about it and come up with something. And I came up with a name, and he was like, "Cool, like I'll help you come up with the logo." And I was just like, "Man, I don't have to do anything." Zeke's super awesome and very welcoming, and he does a lot for the community, like I said. But we, like 6 months later, we get to the event, and I show up late because I was just like nervous again all morning, and I show up and like they were pretty much already set up, and we're there, and Zeke has a speech for everybody, and he's like, "Here you go, say what you want to say," and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really talk in public that often, but I feel like I'm doing okay right now. But so that day,
I'm proud of you, mijo.
That day was the day of the Mission Express relay race, the first relay race in San Antonio ever done that we know of.
The first ever.
And it was only a 4-hour day of racing, but it felt like the longest day of my life.
Yes, I was nervous.
We had 16 teams of racers. We had 64 racers total, and we had over 100 people spectating.
Yeah.
And it was huge, you know. And you don't think about how big something is until you're actually in the event, in the moment, you know. And so pretty much, I came up with the name, and we released the name at the event. It was one of the best events in San Antonio, I think. And like I said, Zeke is the best promoter in San Antonio. I can't thank him enough for what he's done for me and all of San Antonio. And he came up with the idea to release the name at the event, which is Fast Time Cycling. And so yeah, we're semi-fast, I would say. Wednesday night group ride, come out and have a good time. And so there is beer, but now we don't stop until the end to have a beer. So that's good. So we earn it. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Evan. I really hope to ride with you sometime. All right, thank you again, everyone, for coming out. We have the community plug segment, and then we're going to do the raffle. We'll just go for it. If people are not here, I'll just get everyone's name, and hopefully Lily and the rest of the community can help me find these folks who win. Because I really, really appreciate you all coming out. All right, I'm not sure why I'm putting this down here. Community plugs. Should we start with the SA Babes?
Yeah!
SA Babes, thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Hey everybody. I just want to start by saying I love you all. Thank you all for coming out here on a cold night. My name is Veronica, and I started the SA Babes on Bikes here in San Antonio. And we are an all-women cycling club that rides every Wednesday. And if we're not riding on Wednesdays, we're joining up and drinking on Wednesdays. Because Wednesdays are for the ladies. Woo! As a matter of fact, not to call them out, but the only reason why Evan has a Wednesday ride is because there's no men allowed. Just kidding. We collaborate a lot with Evan, and that is a faster ride to go on a Wednesday. We are the slower ride. So we are not about going fast. It is purely a ladies' ride. Women do get intimidated by coming out saying, "Hey, Veronica, I know you're fast. I used to be fast. My ass is slow as fuck now." It's all about getting together, talking with other women, talking about everyday real things that happen in our lives, and getting it out, and having that camaraderie of somebody you can go and talk to. We even have a group chat that we just say the randomest shit on, but it's a support group here in San Antonio, and it's a gateway to other cycling groups, like, for example, the Mujeres. Katie, where are you at? Raise your hands. Woo! But we do, the idea is it's your footstep. I started this back during COVID in 2020, and the way it started was I started riding with a group of people that were free during COVID. Libby Day is one of them, and she left, and I told her I would announce her name, but she had to go. But she started off with me, and I said, hey, you know, like now we're going back to work, everything's changing, I still want to ride with you. And she's like, well, why don't we start something? I said, Wednesdays. I had all these women reaching out to me saying, hey, Veronica, I want to ride with you. I want to be as good as you. I want to do this. I want to do that. Everybody at different levels. Everybody's having different bikes, you know. One of the things is like not judging people on what kind of bike they ride. I said, bring your goddamn four-wheeler. I don't care. Just come out. Your tricycles, whatever. Come out and ride with me. And we started this at Woodlawn Lake. Later on, I was like, you know what, guys, this is getting real boring. Can we go down to Little Death and have some oysters and some drinks? And then then on out, you know, I was like, I know San Antonio like the back of my hand, and I'm like, we're going everywhere. We're gonna go explore. So if you want to know what we're about having fun with women. We go out there, we explore. I'll take you somewhere you've never been. We might stop at a corner store. I support local businesses. And we go hang out. I always make sure they know we're coming. And we support them. We grab some drinks. I make sure that the early part of the crew gets home or to their cars by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And those who want to party, raise your hands. We stay out a little bit longer because it's still ladies' night. But the idea is there's a camaraderie, guys. Getting your foot in the door, being accepted. Where is she at? You over there, you said, I don't have nobody to go with. You don't need anybody to go with to come hang out with me. I am your somebody to hang out with. I got you. I got you. And we are officially going to, we officially made our own kits recently. Yes! And we are going to have a event. Is that supposed to be posted up there now? No. We are going to have an event. We're going to have an event, Galentine's, February 13th. Crit races around Woodlawn Lake where we originated. Because we know that shit by the back of our hands. We've been riding that shit for years now. And we're going to have prizes. And of course, we're going to have our new kits. And what's very special about that is I made our new jerseys to be reflective. So we'll be shining. You'll be seeing us. You'll know who the babe on bike is while they're racing. So I love you guys. I support women. I support them women racing. Some of my women don't even come on my babes rides. But they do race, and I do support them because there's no judgment. I support all women, and I love you. Come out on my Wednesday ride. And also, guys, big shout out to Yvette over here. She's our manager. Yes. And then we got Lily. She's our social media person over here. These women make it happen. We look legit because of these women. My only job is to party and to tell you where the hell we're going. All right. So I love you. Yes. February 13th. Galentine's must be there. Or not cool. $5 entry. See how she's managing me? This shit is crazy. I love you guys. I love you. Peace.
Hi, I'm Katie from Untitled I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I'm not gonna go on for a very long time because I want it's just go late. But anyways, we do a all women's training ride every Tuesday from Filling Station. All women are invited regardless of speed. We encourage everyone to come out, test their limits, see, whether they want to be, a fast rider or slow rider. We encourage everyone to come out. We start and we do the same route basically every week. We're going to start changing it up in March, but that's basically it, guys. I don't really have anything else to say. We feed off of SA Babes, so we encourage all the SA Babe riders to come when they want. What time and where? Oh, Filling Station Tuesdays at 6:30. Doesn't change. It's every week. But yeah, we are a drop ride, and we still encourage everyone to come out and try their limits. We don't leave anybody back. We say we're a drop ride, we still stay back and push, and you know, we never leave anybody behind. So if you are interested, definitely come out, test your limits. We're a female team. Sorry guys. But we have a co-ed ride coming up the day after their crits. So
Yeah, what day is that?
the 14th, February 14th, it's Valentine's Day. Bring your lovers to the lake station.
Lovers and friends.
But I will leave it at that, guys. I'm not much for words. And I'm going to pass it on to Zeke next.
Hey, y'all.
One more thing about the Mujeres, if you were able to follow us on social media, on IG, like that would definitely help us. Remember, support is a like, a share, anything that you can. That's Mujeres Cycling. Please remember, tell your friends and your mom.
Fantastic. Make sure you pay attention. Very quickly, my name is Zeke. I'm the High Chief of the Cannibal Bike Crew. If you don't know who we are, don't worry. A lot of people don't. But April 15th, if you know who Frankenbike is, then pay attention. It's going to be at Level Up Bike Shop, April 15th, and the Cannibal Bike Crew is having our Royal Rumble Poker Alley Cat. It's going to be a wrestling themed alley cat. If you don't know what an alley cat is, you need to Google it, because I'm not here to explain that shit for you. It's a race unlike any other race you've ever been to. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Cannibal Bike Crew. Cannibal, after Eddie Merckx, the greatest son of a bitch to ever sit on a bicycle. April 15th, Cannibal Bike Crew, along with every single son of a fucking, I don't care if this is not going to go one thing.
So these races, are they like the different alien races?
Don't listen to him. Thank you so much, Cannibal Bike Crew. Who's next? It's Grinder.
And this is a save the date kind of thing. We're going to have, this is probably the 7th year, minus the COVID years, of Bike Fiesta. So Bike Fiesta this year is going to be on Wednesday, right before Fiesta. It's April the 19th, I believe. So save that date. If you don't know what Bike Fiesta is, it's for all of you. It's for every bike club, it's for every bike organization, nonprofit, anything like that. You have your own kiosk, you're sharing information, you're selling your merchandise, you're getting the word out. We're also going to have some live music. We have live music along the way. We have sponsors. This year, we've just got the green light to have it at Legacy Park and the Paseo de Houston. So it's a big footprint. It's right downtown. We're going to make it bigger and better than ever before. That's Wednesday, right before Fiesta. And everybody should be involved in that.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have any more community plugs? 30-second community plugs? Okay. Okay, and that? Okay.
So I just want to reiterate, Veronica was really supposed to do it, but on Monday, February 13th, we're going to have Galentine sprints. And we're going to have, it's one lap around Woodlawn for $5. And it's going to go to benefit our race, because we got the racing season coming in. Statistically, cycling is a male-dominated sport. We're a bunch of women who really can't afford things. We're, single moms. A lot of us have, a lot of things we got going on. And these fundraisers are really important for us. So for us to compete at the level that the other men are competing at, it's very important that for us to have these fundraisers. So we have these Galentine sprints going on February 13th, Monday, February 13th. If you're familiar with the Zombie Bicycle Club or the San Antonio on Bike, we're very notorious for winning races, but y'all can come out and compete against us, and we will definitely put your run for the money. Your $5 goes to supporting a lot of women in the cycling community. Not only us, but we also reach out to everybody around us, like Mujeres, like SA Lady Riders, like Black Girls Who Bike. Every woman who rides a bike is definitely encouraged to come and ride with us. Don't ever feel intimidated for not riding in the street. A lot of y'all aren't even aware that we can own a lane in the road in the city in San Antonio. Like, we definitely have ownership to ride in the city just like a car does. And for us to come out and on Wednesdays invite anybody out there. But on Monday, February 13th, we're gonna have Galentine sprints. We have road, fixed, advanced, and beginner levels, $5 to raise. We will have raffle prizes for all the people that enter to win. And we're just gonna have a good time on that day as well. So come celebrate Valentine's Day with us, Galentine's Day with us, with SA Based on Bike, Zombie Bicycle Club, and Cannibal Bike Club too.
Thank you, Yvette. Okay, did y'all have fun? Just to remind you what Lily said, like, share, Bike Story Night, like, share the events that have been mentioned throughout tonight, the people, like, go follow them, support your local bike shops, keep riding your bike, keep encouraging people to ride, no matter what, fix your flat. I'm sure, you know, no one probably has a flat tonight, but who knows, maybe have multiple bikes, that other bike is sitting there, don't let it sit there. I appreciate you all so much for coming together, and I appreciate the storytellers for coming. It takes a lot of guts to come up here and share with everyone. So give a shout out, a round of applause to the storytellers. Please.